Did you know that there's a world summit on accessible tourism? I don't think a lot of people know about this, but this event has actually been held a few times. First in Montreal in 2014, then in Brussels in 2018, and now in 2025 in Torino, Italia. I love Italy. So this opportunity to go to a summit on accessible tourism and go to Italy at the same time, sign me up. The exciting thing about this summit, which World Summit for Accessible Tourism, WSAT is going to be the acronym we're using today, it actually attracts attendees from around the world. And when you think about a world summit and how far people have to travel, I thought it was really impressive that people came from Australia, all over Europe, Mexico, Latin America, the US, Canada, a few people even from Asia, like Thailand. So I think they had pretty good representation. The people that were attending were often representing destinations. The conference and the summit was hosted by Destinations for All. If you don't know the structure, many cities, countries, or regions have a destination marketing organization, or DMO for short. They have a budget to promote tourism in the region, and they often have initiatives to make tourism better. So a lot of those initiatives now are including accessibility. I was so excited when I read the conference program, and that's one of the reasons I decided to go, because I saw that so many people were coming from DMOs around the world, but also from accessible tourism companies. And it gave me a lot of hope, because I don't often know what's going on. I don't know all the initiatives that are happening around the world. So the fact that all these different people were coming to present on their work and show what they're doing for accessible tourism made me feel like, oh wow, there's so much going on that I don't even know about. And the state of accessible tourism might not be, as I feared. I feared there wasn't a lot of investment. The conference agenda gave me that hope that there was a lot more to find out about it. So this whole video is going to be about my experience attending the summit, what I learned, what happened in Torino, Italia, and give you the recap. So let's get started. My goals with attending the conference as BlindishLatina were to connect with different destinations that I could potentially do partnerships with, go on trips and highlight their destinations. And I've done a few videos on this channel that have been from past partnerships. So visiting Ljubjuana in the capital of Slovenia, and I love Slovenia. I cannot wait to go back. I really want another opportunity to go back to this day. That actually was a video on this YouTube channel that you can watch over here. And that video comes from the partnership trip. I also have some other ones that I've done on Switzerland. And we worked with a company called Claire and George, but their initiative is called Accessible Switzerland. And both Ljubljana and Accessible Switzerland were going to be at the summit. So I was really looking forward to seeing those clients again, talking to them, and seeing what's new with them. So being that they're there, this summit is also an opportunity to see where else can BlindishLatina go and highlight and bring those videos to you, show the experience so you can see what accessible tourism is like there. And I always try to be very authentic. I'm not just showing like the good, I'm giving you the real pros and cons of my experience. And it's not really about auditing or trying to show like catch people in what's going wrong. It's about showing up, enjoying the experience, and showing that disabled people can travel too. So that was one big goal, make new connections, and then reconnect with people that I already knew. Another wonderful person who was attending the conference is Neha Aurora, the founder of Planet Enabled. So, have some friends to attend. Now, going to Torino, Italia was also a bonus because I've never been to Torino. If you're not familiar with Torino, Turin is the English version. And it is not by the water, but it's pretty close to the water, and it's more in like northwestern Italy. So I was really curious to know more about Turin, to spend some time there. Would you visit Turin, or have you already gone? Let me know. Going to Turin, we were participating in the summit at a conference center that's not really in the center of the city, but it's in a different area, and Congresso Lingotto. So my partner and I traveled out there. We had one day of free time where we got to walk around the city, and we just loved seeing the architecture, rode the bus, got to experience the public transit, and just kind of soaked in the vibes, tried some food. We actually did have Mexican food in Italy, and it was pretty good. So then the conference started, and the summit was in a center where they had an exhibition area, so lots of people were exhibiting different destinations, and then they had breakout sessions. They also had plenaries, and plenaries are just everyone in one big room listening. They had captions at the conference on 2 different screens, one in Italian and one in English, and they were pretty big and easy to see. So I would say the captions worked pretty well in most of my sessions. I did attend a few breakout sessions where the captions were not working in English or were behind. And so when the captions are behind and then they all of a sudden catch up, what happens is several screens of content flash quickly and you can't read them all. But then it just takes you to the current moment in time until it gets stuck again. So that was super frustrating. And I will say that I spoke up about the accessibility issue and the moderator acknowledged it and asked what was going on. They weren't aware that the captions weren't working. Of course, the audience was aware, but the people that were running them did not seem to hold themselves accountable to making sure they were running correctly. They kind of shrugged their shoulders, look like they were doing something, but the captions continued with the same problem. So I did get frustrated by that, and I ended up leaving the session early because at this point in my life, I'm really not here to struggle through inaccessibility. And if I'm in a space that's focusing on accessible tourism, and accessibility is one of those principles that should be adhered to 100%. So if you are an event organizer, I totally recommend checking in the beginning if everyone's access needs are being met and stopping and pausing until a problem is actually solved before continuing on with content and making sure that it really is solved. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I think that's just shows you that accessibility is a journey and there's so much more for everyone to learn. And even when people are putting their best efforts in, it's still about making sure everyone that's facilitating is on the same page about what to do if a problem emerges. I love a lot of the things that the conference did to make the event more accessible. One of the things that they did that I would love all events to copy is sending out a map of the venue ahead of time. They emailed everyone the map and the layout, and that is so helpful for wayfinding, for just understanding the space ahead of time. And if I had the capacity, I would have been all over that map looking at it, but I did it more in the moment, and that was fine for me. But giving people the option and the flexibility, that is amazing. The more information that you can provide ahead of time, the better. They also did provide information ahead of time about different things like the code check and the timing, and just giving really like the FAQs ahead of time. And they provided an email address where you could send your question to. And that's really, really important. The more that you can give attendees information ahead of time, the more supportive people will feel. On site, there was also another really cool element of accessibility that I would love to highlight, which is NaviLens. And if you don't know what NaviLens are, they are a QR code for blind people. They look different than the QR codes that we're used to. They're really colorful squares, and you can see them as stickers affixed to different places. And they encode information that you can read in the NaviLens app, and you can also hear it auditorily. So there's a voice that reads out the information, which is really helpful, like a screen reader for blind people. So with the NaviLens all around the space, that shows information like, what is the name of the room? Is this a bathroom? It's labeling the space. And I've been to only one other conference that used NaviLens like that to really help people with wayfinding. And I do have the app on my phone, and I love it. It's a great, helpful tool to have, but it has to be set up in advance. It's an investment to make. So I really encourage event organizers to set up NaviLens and promote it so more people can know about it. I think historically I've seen it more often used in Europe than in the United States, but I think it's catching on, and I'm seeing it in more places. So NaviLens was really, really cool. Now let's talk about a little bit more about what presenters were sharing. Obviously, I wasn't in all the sessions, so I don't know all of the initiatives that people were sharing about, but I did attend a bunch of sessions, and some of the things that were exciting were to see like how well-rounded some of the initiatives are. So Visit Belfast in Northern Ireland presented on the different aspects of their initiative takes. One thing they had done was film videos with local disabled residents showing about their city and sharing their favorite places to go, and they would highlight accessibility. I really liked how they platformed disabled voices in that initiative. They also had training and education on accessibility and how to be inclusive for different businesses, institutions to take, and they provide that. Because when you're trying to make a destination accessible, you have to work with people. You have to work with the museums, you have to work with the hotels, you have to work with the tour guides. So knowing that all these groups have to be educated, I think education has to be a part of any accessibility initiative. So I love that they highlighted that. I also learned about some other initiatives that were using AI and gamification to teach students about accessibility and make sure that they were focusing as well on accessible tourism. I think they were just general tourism students. I love the idea of a game. I love the idea of making it fun. I am not a proponent or supporter of AI in that initiative, so that's just my piece. Just the general principle of using a game and working with students sounds wonderful. Another common theme that I saw in the best practices that were shared was focusing on certifications and being able to certify that a hotel, a restaurant, a tourism destination like a museum is accessible or communicates to what level it is accessible. So I saw this in multiple people's presentations. For example, Ljubjuana has done an initiative to basically check on a checklist the accessibility levels of different places. Also, Access I in Belgium talked about this, that they have been certifying businesses as accessible, but they do have 3 different levels. So you can navigate it independently, so that's like most accessible. You can navigate it with assistance, or they do not recommend. And I think having that information is really empowering for disabled people. We want to know ahead of time, what are we getting into? Are we up for it? Are we not up for it? And information gives us that power. Something that's popular in Italy right now, they have a minister of disability, which is so cool. That's a high-level person in government with a budget to make things better for disability. And so with tourism, it seems that the Minister of Disability has given budget to different regions to focus on accessibility. So for example, in the region that includes Venice, Friuli, Venezia Giulia, they have had a project to do assessments of different parts of their region that are accessibility assessments. And they have created a website where they share the results. So you can see the actual measurements of the spaces within a hotel, for example. And they've focused on the coastline first. So that's the area that has the most information, but they're doing it in waves. And other regions in Italy are following suit. So I think this trend of giving more information to the consumer, trying to make it standardized is really, really exciting, and we need to see more of it. And of course, there's always improvements to the process that happen over time, and I think they're paying attention to that. So many exciting best practices were shared. I think it's a really important thing to do so that people can learn from each other. And it seems like new ideas were really pollinating and cross-pollinating, as they say, and being exchanged. So I don't know what's going to emerge from that, but I can only imagine that it will be opportunities to make things better for us disabled travelers. What did I learn from the conference? Of course, I talked to the exhibitors. I caught up with my clients, and it was so nice. And I was actually mentioned in their presentations when the representative from Ljubljana, Slovenia presented. There was a picture of me on my trip. And I was like, yay, this is so cool. And I was so in the moment that I forgot to take a picture of me in the picture. So I totally missed it. It was nice to be mentioned, and the fact that they're proud of working with me and bringing me to their region, I think is a wonderful thing, and I really am grateful for it. So that was really cool, and I was also mentioned in the Accessible Switzerland presentation, and we're talking about, hey, what else can we do? Like continuing that relationship. So that's really something that I appreciate. I always want to have long-term relationships. Then I got to meet some exciting new people. One person that I met is running an accessible tourism company in Norway in a city called Tromsø. Accessible Tromsø is making visiting the Arctic accessible. You can see the Northern Lights. He seems to have a lot of experience working with wheelchair users, but is totally open to all types of disabilities. Also on his same panel was a representative from San Luis Potosi in Mexico, and I really got excited hearing about what they have been doing. They've done such a combination of different types of accessibility improvements. They have made their downtown plaza accessible, so that's infrastructure development. They've created an app that you can add to your phone that provides information in different modalities on, I think, just like tourist information. So I love that because it's sometimes really easy for me if I can read information rather than listen to it. And they also talked about having sign language, people who are tour guides who can deliver the tour in different types of sign language. So I loved hearing about all of these things. And one of the things that she talked about as well was they have some festivals that they're really known for. And one of them, that she spoke about, super popular, she brought out a vest that you could wear that gives you tactile input about the music, and it connects to the music input. So it gives another way for deaf people and other people with different disabilities to experience music. So yes, I tried on the vest and felt it vibrating. It was really strong, much stronger than I had expected. And I got to see like how it connects to the music and gives you more information on the beat. So that was really fun, and I love that she brought that out for people to actually try at the conference. So Barbados was also there, and I love Barbados. I got to live there before, so it was really cool to see them engaged at a conference on accessible tourism. And they talked to me and my partner about different things that we didn't know about while we were living there that are related to accessibility, like local accessibility advocates who actually are elected officials in the government. That was really cool. So I was very definitely happy to see so many people presenting and engaged in the topic. I will say that what I noticed is that a lot of people are really strong in their initiatives focused on wheelchair users, and that's really important. And we need to make sure that wheelchair users can travel. Beyond that, not everyone, maybe, I don't even know, like percentage wise, but a big group of people hadn't done more to include other types of disabilities and to improve their, just understanding of what else they could be doing. So I think that is where I would love to see everyone go next. Like, great, you have these initiatives focused on wheelchair users, you've been collecting learnings, how can you go beyond? And how can you be responsive to different types of disabilities? Because even wheelchair users themselves don't just come to you with one disability. They might also have a chronic illness, they might have a mental health condition, or they might be neurodivergent. So it's really, really wonderful when you can expand, and you have to go beyond just one type of disability in order to really say that you're focusing on accessibility. That's my view. I was encouraged by those who were there and presenting that they had done that. And I think that's a good model for other people to see and hear about and recognize, oh, there is so much more that I could be doing. So there was a company called TUI that has hotels. I think that's their main thing. And they talked about having, for example, creator ambassadors with different types of disabilities. It included neurodiversity, it included blindness, it included mobility disabilities. So that was really great. And they also talked about initiatives that they've done throughout their hotel system to make the experience more accessible for different types of disabilities. So that's just an example that I can remember right now of a company that went beyond. So I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed when I was at this conference, that there's still so much more to go. Well, I'm encouraged by what everyone has been doing, and the fact that this summit even exists, that's super encouraging. So now how can we continue the journey and expand it and make sure that accessible tourism isn't just going to stop here? because we're not done yet. There's much more work to be done. And I think one thing that I also would love to see the conference do is pay attention to content creators and disabled voices. Because, and this happens often when you have a conference that represents companies and their initiatives, you can get into a space where the people that you're talking about, you're always talking about them, and they're not there talking about themselves, like representing the community. So I think the conference can benefit from some more disabled speakers and voices, and making sure that those are also platformed really intentionally. Because we were there in the audience. I met lots of different accessibility consultants, disabled people with authentic lived experience and something to say. So I think it would be very easy to tap into that and make sure that's more intentionally included. And it's not to say the conference wasn't planned with disabled leadership. Like, we definitely saw there was representation on the steering committee of disabled people with lived experience. So I think it's just about how they build out the sessions and the speakers. So I don't know if that's something you've noticed. Have you noticed that at other conferences that are about disability or accessibility, that sometimes they have that mismatch where there's not enough disabled speakers there? Let me know in the comments. The conference went from a Sunday to a Tuesday. We got to network and talk to different people. I love that it ended every day at 6:30, so we had the whole evening to recharge, and I definitely needed to recharge. When I'm at a summit and conference like that, I'm listening a lot, so I can't attend sessions all day for the whole time. I have to take breaks, so sometimes I skip a session. I'm wearing my Bluetooth microphone to communicate with people, which is a really, really helpful accessibility tool, but I still get listening fatigue, and it's still a lot going on. Also learning a new environment, switching rooms, getting comfortable over and over and over again takes some time. So thankfully my partner was there to help me a lot with understanding people, taking notes. We did an accessibility tour right on the first day, learning where everything was, how the space was laid out, where the coat check was. So thankful they had a coat check, the bathrooms, just understanding that. And then that makes me feel better to come in the next day and, use less energy navigationally and figuring out the space. But it's still a lot of stimulation. I'm very proud of myself for showing up, for attending, and saying, okay, I don't know what this is gonna be like, but I'm gonna give it a try and just put myself in this space. So I think it was worth it. I look forward to seeing what they announce about the future one. There was a 4-year gap between the one in 2014 and the one in 2018. I believe they fully intended to do one earlier, before 2025, but the pandemic got in the way. So I am not sure if they're gonna do 4 years between now and the next one, kind of like the Olympics. But as soon as I find out, I'll be sharing about it on my socials, because I would love people to know about this event, and for us, especially from a disability community, to have more representation so we can show up there. One of the best pros and the best things about the summit was the food, the quality of the food. I don't know about you, but I've gone to many conferences where they don't provide food, or they do provide food and it's not that good. There's not that many vegetarian options. So sometimes I'm just stuck eating grilled vegetables, no protein, nothing beyond that. The food at this conference was so good and so elevated. Lots of different options for me, tons of vegetarian options, and they did it all in little bites, which I love. It's kind of like tapas style. I got to try all these different things. A lot of them were in glass jars, so they were focused on sustainability there. And they had these big hot dishes with pasta, a few different kinds of pasta every time. I also really loved the coffee breaks. I felt like, oh yes, a conference in Italy is different. They had coffee, they had wine, they had tea, they had cookies and crackers and pastries and all these things. So we had pretty solid coffee breaks as well. And so I really was impressed with the quality of the food. So that's the vlog, that's the recap of the World Summit on Accessible Tourism. Do you have any questions? What would you like to see the industry do? Let me know in the comments, and follow along and subscribe for more content on accessible tourism. If you want to see more videos on inclusive and accessible travel, subscribe to BlindishLatina and let me know all your questions in the comments, and I will see you next time.